The Bailey's summoning magic was the best in the world. But as the direct heir, the only thing I summoned was a scrawny, bald chicken. The matriarch, ashamed of me, secretly swapped me with a distant cousin. Then I saw the live comments on the stream. What bald chicken? That's a phoenix. And besides the phoenix, she can summon a 9-tailed fox, too. When a child of the Bailey family is born, they are brought before the reflection wall. The stone surface reveals the image of their future familiar. Usually it's a fierce beast like a tiger or a black bear. The absolute weakest would be a wolf. When I was born, auspicious clouds gathered and vibrant rainbows filled the sky. The whole clan declared, the heir is born. A divine omen. She will surely summon a mythical beast. Everyone waited with bated breath. The head of the Bailey family, my grandmother, was bursting with pride. On that breezy, beautiful day, my mother placed me, still in my swaddling clothes, before the reflection wall. Light and shadow flickered across the stone, shifting and changing, refusing to form a clear image. The suspense was killing everyone. A full 15 minutes passed under the watchful eyes of the entire clan before a shadow slowly took shape. It was a bony, miserable-looking bald chicken. Everyone's eyes nearly popped out of their sockets. The matriarch's face instantly darkened. She slammed her dragon-headed cane on the ground and stormed away. Later, all the servants who witnessed the event were beaten to death. The relatives who were present were ordered to never speak of it. On the same day I was born, a daughter was born to a distant relative. The matriarch was convinced that this other girl was the one who had brought the auspicious clouds. She had the baby girl secretly brought over. The reflection wall showed her familiar to be a golden eagle, a true king of the skies. In the entire world, only a handful of people could command such a powerful bird of prey. The matriarch was extremely pleased, now certain this was the true heir. And so, she secretly swapped us. Only a very few people knew about this. My mother fought tooth and nail to stop it, but they broke both her legs and locked her in the woodshed. My weak-willed father didn't dare defy the matriarch. A notorious womanizer, he took the opportunity to promote his mistress to the position of his main wife. As for me, I was sent away with my unknowing distant relatives to the remote province. My name is Lily, and I was the apple of the Lee family's eye. I grew up spoiled, never suffering a single hardship. Even though my familiar was an unimpressive bald chicken, my grandfather refused to admit it. He'd stand up straight, circle the little droopy-eyed chick, and lie through his teeth. This isn't some sickly chicken, this is clearly a peacock. The servants would look at each other, stunned for a moment, before chiming in, yes, yes, a peacock. But my little chick didn't appreciate the flattery. It would lazily raise its eyes, give everyone a haughty glare, and even shoot a look of contempt at my grandfather's familiar, a magnificent vulture. Seeing this, my parents would follow my grandfather's lead and lie with a straight face. Look at our sweet girl's little peacock. What an attitude. I know, right? It doesn't even respect a vulture. Only my sister, Iris, couldn't stand me, always calling me a useless waste of space. She was admittedly much more useful than I was. Her familiar was a goshawk, a truly formidable bird of prey. But for all her scolding, she was always the first to back me up in a fight. Our family, the Lees, were a minor house, and kids my age often picked on me, laughing that my familiar and I were a pair of weaklings. Whenever that happened, Iris would call me useless while simultaneously sticking up for me. Her goshawk pecked the family's ostrich, the family's wild goose, the family's white stork, and the family's crested ibis until they were all bona fide bald chickens. I was super attached to her, always trailing behind her like a little shadow. She acted completely annoyed by me, but wouldn't let anyone else bully me in the slightest. Life was simple and happy, until the day a white dove brought the terrible news. My sister was dead, killed by the Bailey family's direct heir, Bella Bailey. The Bailey family sent people to apologize. They called it an apology, but their words were arrogant. Their idea of compensation was a marriage alliance. Their son, Chris Bailey, would marry me. The envoy's exact words were, "The Bailey family is a rising sun, while the Lee family is on its last legs. This marriage is a huge step up for you. If you really think about it, you're the ones getting the better end of this deal." My parents were furious but didn't dare talk back. If they angered the Baileys, the entire Lee clan could be wiped out. Later, my grandfather, the head of the family, locked himself in a dark room and sat there for a day and a night. When the sky began to lighten, he emerged, his eyes bloodshot and his body stooped. The once spirited old man had shrunk and aged overnight. He had agreed to the marriage. No one was allowed to speak of my sister's death anymore. I was the only one who sat alone on the edge of the green cliff, burning paper offerings for her. Iris, I'm getting married. Iris, I will avenge you. A light breeze rustled the bamboo grove. The rolling sea of bamboo seemed to mock me with a familiar taunt. You and your bald chicken? I stood up, my hands behind my back. Below the sea of clouds, on the cliff face, the wind blew some of the mist away, revealing the faint, massive shadow of my bald chicken. Its neck was arched like a fully drawn bow. Its wings concealed half the cliff, and its tail feathers cascaded down like a river of stars. It was the shadow of a phoenix. The mist swirled away again. Next to the phoenix, the faint outlines of 5 other colossal beings appeared. Their shadows overlapped and swayed, each one radiating a terrifying pressure. A celestial crane, a water dragon, a stone general, a 9-tailed fox, a hydra. They were all my familiars. For years ago, on my 15th birthday, a few strange lines of text floated through my mind. That old hag from the Bailey family is blind to true greatness. What bald chicken? That's a phoenix. Just wipe off the floral marking on her forehead, and you can break the seal and summon the phoenix and the 9-tailed fox. Really? That day, I picked up my bald chicken and studied it closely. No matter how I looked at it, the little thing didn't resemble a phoenix at all. Besides, the floral marking on my forehead was a birthmark it was impossible to wipe off. But the text insisted. Wiping it off isn't hard. You just need to drink a bowl of a Bailey's heart's blood. And that's supposed to be not hard? How was I supposed to travel all the way to Fengzhou and cut out someone's heart for a little blood? For years ago, I didn't pay much attention to those voices. I was lazy by nature, spoiled into an idler by my family, and had no desire to become stronger. Besides, I had no grudge against the Baileys. It would be rude to just show up and dig out someone's heart. After that, the text never appeared again. But things are different now. I have to avenge my sister. I decided to give the stream's advice a try. When I left, my grandpa, father, and mother saw me off at the city gates. I leaned out of the carriage window to look back. In the morning mist, my parents were wiping away tears, their eyes red. My grandfather stumbled after the carriage for a long way. The carriage rumbled on, kicking up dust. Their figures grew smaller and smaller, eventually becoming 3 tiny dots on the horizon. 3 tiny dots forever etched in my heart. I traveled with the envoy by boat and carriage to Fengzhou, where I was settled into a separate villa on the Bailey estate to await the wedding. The villa was on the outskirts of the city, surrounded by 10 miles of peach orchards. The Baileys sent some maids to take care of me, but they were also my watchdogs, monitoring my every move. My personal maid was named Chloe. Chloe was a steady, quiet type who often spied on me from the shadows. One day, while chasing after Apollo my familiar, I stumbled into a desolate courtyard. The gate was heavily locked. From inside, I could hear the squeaking of rats, the rattling of chains, and a sad, gentle lullaby. Sleep now, my sweet child, sleep. Wake up and eat your cake, so you'll grow up big and strong. The locust flowers bloom and fall, and Mama's dark hair is now streaked with snow. As she sang, she started to cry. Eleanor Bailey, give me back my daughter. Julian, that's our daughter. I'm begging you, save her. I stood outside the courtyard, holding my familiar, listening blankly to the woman's sorrowful song. Eleanor Bailey was the matriarch of the Bailey family. Julian Bailey was her son. Julian's eldest daughter, Bella, was the one who killed my sister. His eldest son, Chris, was the man I was supposed to marry. He was the son of Julian and his second wife. There was once a first wife, but rumor had it she died from an illness after giving birth to Bella. Could this woman be? She's a madwoman. Dinner is ready, my lady. Don't stand here listening to a lunatic's ravings. Chloe was standing right behind me, her gaze cold and piercing. She startled me. I had no idea when she'd gotten there. Chloe gestured for me to leave. Cradling Apollo, I followed her, looking back every few steps. The setting sun stretched my shadow long behind me. The wind carried the woman's song, sad and mournful, lingering long after we'd gone. Soon, I had no energy to think about that woman or guess at her secrets with the Bailey family. In 3 days, it would be my wedding day. On the day of the wedding, the sound of gongs and drums filled the air. The bridal sedan was halfway to its destination when an arrow shot through the curtain and embedded itself in my bridal headdress. An inch lower, and it would have pierced my brow. I lifted the curtain. On a balcony above stood a beautiful young woman holding a longbow. Our eyes met. Her gaze was challenging, her lips moved. Amidst the festive noise of drums and firecrackers, I read her lips. "I killed your sister." Then she smiled. That smile was a blade, stabbing wantonly into my heart. I dropped the curtain and drew my hands into my long sleeves. A dagger was hidden there. On our wedding night, I would take Chris Bailey's heart's blood. Once the seal was broken, I would take Bella's life. The candlelight flickered in the silent room. I sat alone on the bed, clutching the dagger, my palms slick with sweat. I don't know how long I waited before the groom pushed the door open with a creak. I caught the pleasant scent of orchids. Through my bridal veil, I heard a teasing, boyish voice. "So you're the social climber?" He sat down at the table by himself and poured a drink. "I've heard the Lee family has fallen on hard times and is desperate to latch onto the Baileys. First, you sacrifice the life of your direct heir to blackmail us. Then you offer up your most beautiful woman to appease us. You people have no shame, do you? Lies. It was Bella who killed my sister." The Baileys felt guilty and proposed the marriage to bury the hatchet. The way he told it, it sounded like my family had intentionally used my sister's death to force them into a marriage alliance as compensation. I was furious but kept my composure. I rolled my eyes and let him continue spouting nonsense. He went on. "Izhou is a barren wasteland. How could it ever compare to the treasures of Fengzhou? The Lees are blind. They've never seen a true beauty." After finishing his drink, the wastrel staggered toward me. His tone was condescending and frivolous. "I'm dying to see what the most beautiful woman of the Lee clan looks like. Could she possibly be more beautiful than my dear Bella?" He picked up the ceremonial rod and lifted my veil. The moment our eyes met, the jade cup in his hand fell to the floor with a clatter. The playboy's eyes flashed with astonishment, and a blush crept up his cheeks. He stammered, "Wife. Calling me wife won't help you. I'm still taking your heart's blood later." I gritted my teeth inwardly but put on a shy act, forcing a bashful smile. After a moment, he regained his composure and cleared his throat awkwardly. "You're passable, I suppose. My lady, the night is young." He flicked his sleeve, and the candles went out. I was pushed onto the bed. He grabbed my hands, lacing his fingers with mine. Thank goodness I'd hidden the dagger under the pillow, or I would have been caught red-handed. Pale moonlight filtered through the window, illuminating his porcelain white skin. The handsome young man's eyes were tinged with a sickly red, like crushed rose petals. A look of fascination filled his gaze. I met his eyes and deliberately whispered in a soft voice, "Husband." I had a plan. I'd play along, act sweet and submissive, and when he was fast asleep and satisfied, I'd cut him open and take his blood. Chris Bailey leaned over me, about to kiss me. But just as our lips were about to touch, he suddenly pulled back. The boy let out a low laugh, his shoulders shaking. "You didn't really think I'd fall for you just because you're beautiful, did you? I hear your familiar is some pathetic, sickly chicken. A weak, useless woman like you, with nothing but a pretty face, isn't even worthy of carrying my sister Bella's shoes." He pinched my chin, his eyes filled with mockery. So his earlier display of affection was just an act to humiliate me. My hand slowly reached into my sleeve for a silk handkerchief laced with a sleeping drug. I was going to wait until he was sound asleep before covering his face with it. After all, having your heart's blood taken would hurt. If he woke up mid-procedure, I wasn't sure I could beat him. A little something to make him sleep deeper was necessary. But this guy wouldn't shut up. He just kept talking and talking, refusing to get down to business. "Fine, I'll just knock him out first." Just as I was about to make my move, I heard footsteps outside the door. The moment before the person pushed the door open, the boy on top of me suddenly dove under the bed. Me. I looked up. The one who entered was a tall, Handsome young man with features as fine as a painting. He looked exactly like the first one. And he was also wearing the groom's robes. Another Chris Bailey. The live comments, silent for 4 years, suddenly flooded my mind. Whoa, another groom. Is this a buy one get one free deal? You don't get it. The first one was Leo, the groom's twin brother. This is the real Chris. Leo. Honey, I'm home. It's me, your brother-in-law. I sat up awkwardly. Chris leaned casually against the doorframe, a smirk playing on his lips. I've heard the Lee family has fallen on hard times and is desperate to latch onto the Baileys, offering up their most beautiful woman to do so. Ah. And they really did send a pretty, empty-headed doll. And you think you're worthy of being my wife? Me, they really are twins. Not only do they look identical, they even say the exact same things. I frowned slightly. Was I going to have to listen to that whole tirade all over again? But after he finished, he muttered to himself, "Lines are done. Time to search." The boy dropped his cold demeanor, strode over to me, and lifted the pillow. The gleaming dagger lay there quietly. My face went pale. He smiled. Just as I thought. You hid a dagger. With that, he casually tossed it out the window. I heard a yelp from outside, like it had hit someone in the head. Chris drawled to the darkness outside. This is just a little fun between my wife and me. All you spectators can disperse now. The people outside scattered like birds. The stream was stunned. Chris isn't an NPC, he's a player. Well, the bride is screwed now. He pinned me down and snatched the handkerchief from my hand. How did he know about the dagger under the pillow and the drug on the handkerchief? I wasn't as strong as him, and I couldn't understand how he saw through my plan so easily. The thought that I was a failure, who couldn't even avenge my sister, brought tears to my eyes. Don't cry, my lady. He quickly let go of my hands and wiped the tears from my face. You wanted to kill me, but I'm not mad at you. Why are you crying? I pushed his hand away and retreated to the corner of the bed. I couldn't exactly say, I'm crying because you won't let me stab you. After a moment of silence, I pointed under the bed. Your brother was fresh with me. What a chaotic night. On my wedding night, I hugged a blanket and watched Chris give his brother a beatdown. They were evenly matched. Bro, I was just teaching her a lesson for Bella. She's my new wife. Since when do you get to teach her lessons? Bro, you're not getting serious, are you? She's not good enough for you. She's my new wife. Since when do you get to pass judgment? I never thought Chris would be such a decent guy. I munched on the ceremonial dates, longans, and peanuts while watching the two wealthy heirs brawl. They didn't summon their familiars, just went at it with pure physical force. They were neck and neck until Chris materialized a zither out of thin air. The moment the strange melody started, the sound waves hit me, and I passed out. When I woke up, Leo was gone. Only Chris was lying beside me. Before I fainted, I'd figured out how to tell them apart. Chris had a small mole on the right side of his neck, and Leo had a dimple on the left side of his lip. Chris was sleeping soundly. Gazing at his sleeping face, my heart began to pound. This was the perfect time to strike. I crept out of bed and searched the room for a weapon. A shard of porcelain. Sharp, but not deep enough. A zither string. It could strangle him, but I wanted his heart's blood, not his life. Finally, an idea struck me. I pulled a pin from my hair. By the light of the moon, I cautiously approached the sleeping boy, my hand trembling as I raised the hairpin. But just as I was about to strike, I hesitated. Besides my family, he was the only one who had ever stood up for me. Was I really going to use him like this? But if I went soft, I couldn't avenge Iris. I raised and lowered the pin several times. Finally, I hardened my heart. With vengeance at stake, how could I be swayed by a small kindness? I only needed a bowl of his heart's blood. I wouldn't kill him. I raised the pin high and plunged it down. Suddenly, the stream's comments flashed. Don't do it. You'll fall right into his trap. This is a test from Chris. He's not really asleep. I snatched my hand back. Looking closely, I could see the boy's eyelashes were fluttering, and his breathing was hitched. He definitely didn't look like he was sound asleep. But the handkerchief that could have knocked him out was already shredded to bits. Since I couldn't cut his heart out, I'd have to win it over. I had married into the Bailey family. I needed an ally. I quietly put the hairpin away, slowly climbed back into bed, and snuggled under the covers. I deliberately wrapped my arms around his warm body, burrowing into his embrace like a cat. "Husband, I'm cold," I purred. The boy's body tensed, but he kept his eyes shut tight. "Playing dead?" I reached out, my hand slipping under his nightshirt, my fingertips tracing a line over his firm stomach. He quickly grabbed my hand, his voice trembling. "Don't." I rested my head on his arm, staring at his handsome profile. "Does my husband find me repulsive?" The stream answered for him. "Silly girl, he's a player, and you're an NPC. You two have no future." But Chris fell for her at first sight. He went soft the moment she held back. "Yes. Go to his stream, his affection meter is at 200%. A beautiful woman in his arms who looks like that? She can have my heart's blood, I don't care." The next moment, Chris rolled over and pulled me into his arms. He buried his face in my neck, his hair tickling me. His long fingers untied my robe as he breathed heavily in my ear. "I was never much of a gentleman to begin with. You're the one who started this." I smirked to myself. Hook, line, and sinker. I wrapped my arms around his neck. Suddenly, the stream dropped a bombshell. "If I remember correctly, aren't they brother and sister?" "OMG, you're right. How did I forget that? Holy crap, I'm shipping real incest. Gotta get a closer look, hee hee. Brother and sister?" The moment before his fingers slipped under my clothes, I grabbed his hand. "Don't." Realizing my resistance, Chris slowly calmed down. The night returned to silence. By morning, Chris was gone. On the table was a small cup of fresh blood. The stream was going wild. "I ship it. I ship it. It's Chris's heart's blood. He knew Lily needed it. It's just a little, but it's a piece of his heart." A ripple went through me. After drinking the blood in the cup, I looked in the bronze mirror. The 3 petals of the floral marking on my forehead had been reduced to 2. At the same time, a surge of energy flowed through me, filling my entire body. To test my new strength, I slammed my palm on the rosewood table. It instantly shattered into pieces. The stream trembled. OMG. That made me jump. Ugh, I was so scared I knocked over my ramen. The whole room smells like feet now. If she wanted to, she could crush my skull with her bare hands. And this isn't even her full power. Her summoning magic is the goat. I looked down at my hand. My fingers were long, fair, and delicate. To think that such a hand had shattered that hard, heavy table so easily, so effortlessly. How I wanted to use this hand to wrap around Bella's neck and avenge my sister. But thanks to the stream, I now knew the whole story. Bella was the biological daughter of the Lee family in Ijo. The Bailey twins and I were real siblings. Bella had killed her own sister. And I had married my own brother. Grandpa, Mom, and Dad were so good to me. Should I kill their last remaining blood relative in this world? And why did Eleanor Bailey want her grandson to marry me? She couldn't possibly be unaware that I was her real granddaughter. Led by Chloe, I went to the matriarch's chambers to serve tea and pay my respects. Outside, it was late spring, life bursting forth. But the moment I stepped inside, it felt like deep winter. It was chillingly cold. The room was dimly lit and smelled of medicine. A screen stood in the middle, blocking my view of Eleanor Bailey. I knelt on the floor, holding the teacup. I respectfully invite the matriarch to drink this tea. There was no response for a long time. My arms grew sore from holding the cup up, and my knees ached from kneeling. A sliver of light shone on the screen. I stared at the golden dragon embroidered on it, my mind wandering. Wait, why doesn't this dragon have eyes? After complaining about the matriarch's rudeness toward me, the stream started analyzing the embroidery. That's the celestial dragon screen. It was part of the first wife Jade's dowry. The first wife. This was my mother's dowry? Back then, the old hag made Julian marry the orphan Jade just for this screen. But she never expected it to be a fake when she got it. Listening to the stream's chatter, I pieced together an old story. Legend had it that the 3 most powerful mythical beasts in the world were the celestial dragon, the phoenix, and the 9-tailed fox. But the phoenix and the fox were just myths. Only the celestial dragon had ever truly appeared in the world. When it did, it was subdued by a divine being with the surname Yu, who sealed it within a screen. Whoever possessed that screen would have the chance to claim the celestial dragon as their familiar, and become the most powerful summoner in the world. Eleanor Bailey had spent her entire life searching for the celestial dragon screen. Eventually, she found the last descendant of the Yu family, an orphan named Jade. Eleanor had her son marry Jade, acquiring the entire Yu family fortune and, among the many treasures, the screen. But she never imagined that the prize she had sought for so long was a fake. The dragon on the screen had no eyes. Ever since the story of the celestial dragon screen began to circulate, many forgeries appeared. But no matter how skilled the embroiderers were, they could never capture the divine, shining gaze of the dragon's golden eyes. Thus, the dragon's eyes became the key to telling the real from the fake. As I was lost in thought, staring at the dragon, a sneer came from the doorway. "You think you're worthy of seeing my grandmother?" Bella strode in, snatched the teacup from my hands, and splashed the tea in my face. Fengzhou was the richest land in the world, and the Baileys were its most powerful family. In the eyes of the world, Eleanor Bailey was the most revered person alive. Bella smugly walked around the screen and began cooing affectionately, "Grandmother, Bella hasn't seen you in 2 days. I've missed you so much." Only then did I hear a deep, elderly woman's voice. "My dear child, you've lost weight again. You're already the most outstanding of Fengzhou's younger generation. Yet you still work so hard at your training. It breaks your grandmother's heart." Though a screen separated us, I could practically see the affection she lavished on Bella. Just moments ago, I had knelt for ages without anyone acknowledging me. I'd thought the room was empty. I wiped the tea from my face. I missed my grandpa. In the carriage, I sat across from Bella. The wheels rumbled on in the clear morning light, heading toward the estate. As women of the Bailey family, we had been invited to a garden party hosted. In Fengzhou, the Baileys were supreme, with a close second. But in the eyes of both the Baileys, the distant Lee family didn't even register. It was just me and Bella in the carriage. Her contempt for me was undisguised. The girl admired her painted nails, her gaze sliding from her fingertips to me. "Is that Fengzhou's finest cloud silk you're wearing? TSK. Izhou is so poor, this must be the first time you've ever seen such expensive fabric." A minor family like the Lees, climbing the social ladder by marrying in. "You've really hit the jackpot, haven't you?" I closed my eyes, letting her words wash over me like the wind. But she only grew more brazen. "I hear your grandfather's familiar is a vulture. A vulture's fighting ability is so-so. It certainly can't compare to my golden eagle. And your father and mother's familiars are even more ridiculous. I heard they're a pair of dumb-looking swans." The stream erupted in fury. "Bella, you idiot, you're insulting your own grandfather and parents. Can someone please punish this arrogant brat?" Bella knew none of this. She was only interested in belittling me further. "As for you, do you have any idea that you and your familiar are the laughingstock of the entire world? If I wanted to kill you, it would be as easy as crushing an ant." I opened my eyes and met her sneering gaze. I thought of my sister. When she killed Iris, did she say the same thing? Can I really not kill Bella and avenge my sister? The carriage stopped at the estate. The Bailey heir and the eldest son of the family had been betrothed since birth. Ethan was already waiting outside the grand red lacquered gates, a warm smile on his face as he welcomed his fiancée. The carriage curtain was pulled back, and I stepped out first. Ethan's gaze froze on my face. He stared, entranced, for several seconds before remembering to help Bella down. Bella saw it all. Her disdain for me, born from looking down on the Lee family, now curdled into jealousy. We entered the garden, where the banquet was already set. The garden was a riot of color, and the ladies of Fengzhou's various families were already seated. The male guests were in a nearby waterfront pavilion. Leo was among them. I knew it was the annoying Leo because Chris had gone to the city temple today. According to the stream, he was about to complete some kind of system quest. When Bella appeared, the women flocked to her, fawning and flattering. She was an expert archer, her familiar was a fierce and powerful golden eagle. Her fiancé was Ethan, and most importantly, she was the matriarch of the Bailey family's favorite grandchild. Even if they didn't genuinely like her, they were mindful of the Bailey and family's prestige. She pointed at me with her chin, her tone dripping with sarcasm. "Ladies, this is my new sister-in-law, the one who climbed her way up." With that one sentence, everyone at the banquet knew her opinion of me. Her opinion was the matriarch's opinion. I was pushed to a seat at the edge. The high society ladies were afraid that being nice to me would displease Bella. The stream was fuming. Bullying. This is straight up bullying. Does Bella even know she's the real daughter of the Lee family? I'm so mad. Hey, leave the Lee family out of your insults. The Lee family is loving and harmonious, not a toxic mess like the Baileys. The guests chatted and laughed. I didn't mind being ignored. Halfway through the banquet, the male guests were invited to join us. Bella suggested we play a game. Hide and seek. It sounded childish, but she smiled grimly. The person who gets caught has to spar with the seeker. And no holding back. As she said this, her almond-shaped eyes stared at me menacingly. It seemed she wanted to use this opportunity to teach me a lesson. The first seeker was Bella. The estate was enormous, a labyrinth of pavilions, verandas, and covered walkways. I flitted across the rooftops and found a quiet, secluded spot. Unexpectedly, I heard two voices plotting. An old, frail-looking woman sat in the main seat, and next to her sat a stern, imposing middle-aged man. Both were dressed in lavish clothes and radiated power. Especially the old woman. A single glance from her could crush a person. The stream revealed their identities. It's the Bailey matriarch, Eleanor, and the family head, Franklin. New plot unlocked. I haven't seen this part. Franklin said. So the celestial dragon screen is in the hands of the Lee family. The matriarch's spies are truly impressive. But I've heard that just having the screen isn't enough. You need to sacrifice someone from the family to awaken the dragon. Now that Jade is dead, is the matriarch willing to sacrifice Miss Bella? Eleanor said calmly. Bella is Ethan's fiancée. I would never break up those two. Franklin was confused. Then, Eleanor smiled faintly. I have already chosen a sacrifice. My heart sank. That sacrifice was me. I finally understood why she had brought me into her family. Bella wasn't Jade's daughter, I was. The whole Chris's bride thing was just a cover. What she really wanted was for me to be the sacrifice to awaken the celestial dragon. Franklin Shin cupped his hands in respect. The matriarch's foresight is profound. I am in awe. The family's airy guard has already disguised themselves as a merchant caravan and is approaching the city. How will they contact the matriarch's golden guard? Eleanor took a sip of tea and said lightly, once the airy guard enters the city, someone will contact you. The more I heard, the more horrified I became. It was true what they said. A treasure brings nothing but trouble. They were planning to wipe out the Lee family. The Shin familiars were mostly birds of prey, and the Bailey familiars were mostly ferocious beasts. Forget the fact that our Lee family was weak and outnumbered. Even if the entire province of Ijo united, we couldn't defeat these two families combined. But what right did they have to attack the Lees? Weren't they afraid of public condemnation? And sure enough, Franklin stroked his beard and gave an awkward laugh. The Lee family is no match for us, but attacking without a just cause might invite criticism. The old woman shot him a sideways glance and finally revealed a piece of her plan. The Lee family's new bride has just married into my Bailey family. I saw her exchanging flirtatious glances with that mute carriage driver. They're having an affair. This shameless adulteress has disgraced our family. She is the one who will bring ruin upon the Lees of Ijo. If you want to condemn someone, you can always find a charge. I had never even seen a mute carriage driver. This wicked old woman wanted to slander my reputation to justify her invasion. Even Franklin was stunned by her shamelessness. A moment later, the family head was back to his fawning. With the matriarch in charge, I have nothing to worry about. Found you. Bella's voice came from behind me. I turned and saw a bloodthirsty glint in her eyes. After eavesdropping on Eleanor and Franklin's secret meeting, I found a rock garden to hide in and continued the game. When Bella found me, she had no idea what I'd overheard. We returned to the party, where the various young masters and ladies had emerged from their hiding spots and gathered around. Bella drew her bow, aiming a practice arrow at me. When we spar, don't hold back, okay? The bowstring vibrated. The tension between us was thick enough to cut with a knife. A strong wind kicked up. The crowd watched with growing excitement. Leo, who idolized his sister Bella, looked at me with utter contempt. He bent down to sniff a blooming red rose, then snapped the stem and crushed the flower into a paste. The boy sneered at me. Here in Fengzhou, a pretty face is the most useless thing of all. In the end, it just gets trampled into the dirt. The duel began. This time, Bella's bow was strung with a real arrow. She narrowed her eyes and took aim at me. I reached into the air. Bow of the sun shooter. A gleaming golden bow appeared in my hand. I leaped forward, quick as a flash, and snatched an arrow from Bella's own quiver. I knocked the arrow and drew the bowstring until the divine bow was as round as a full moon. The moment she loosed her arrow at me, mine was already flying. The two arrows collided in mid-air. Mine, swift as lightning, split hers in two and continued speeding toward her. Bella was shocked and scrambled to dodge. The arrow grazed her cheek and pierced her left ear. In that moment of pained shock, I appeared before her like a ghost and slapped her across the face, sending her sprawling to the ground. This is the so-called champion of Fengzhou's younger generation? Pathetic, I sneered. The crowd gasped, exchanging stunned glances. Leo's jaw dropped. He stared at me in disbelief, as if he couldn't comprehend that I possessed such power. He and Ethan rushed to help Bella up. Once on her feet, Bella glared at me with hatred. You're dead. How dare you provoke me? It seems you know nothing about my summoning magic. The next moment, she raised her hand and whistled. Instantly, it was as if a dark cloud had blotted out the sun. A pair of enormous wings enveloped the garden. Everyone looked up. A massive golden eagle emerged from the void, its amber eyes sharp and fierce. It was a king of the skies, the most powerful bird in the world, strong enough to rival a tiger on the ground. Everyone drew a sharp breath. No one was unafraid. Where's your familiar? Bella stared at me, a cold smile on her face. I hear it's a sickly chicken. What, are you afraid to summon it? She was gloating. She raised her hand and whistled again. From the void, another, equally massive golden eagle appeared. The two eagles circled overhead. Many of the noble ladies were so scared their legs were shaking. But most were gasping in awe and admiration. Bella can summon two familiars. No one in history has ever been able to do that. I've truly seen something special today. Miss Bella is without a doubt the top summoner of her generation. I bow to her skill. Two familiars. And both are golden eagles. No wonder the matriarch dotes on her. I heard that when Miss Bella was born, the heavens sent auspicious clouds and rainbows. The chosen one truly is different. Bella pressed on. What? Afraid to show your familiar? Afraid my eagles will rip its heart out? Leo was full of confidence now. He crossed his arms, looking down at me. I told you, you're not even worthy of carrying Bella's shoes. I looked up at the circling eagles. They were agile, fierce, with thick feathers and tough hides. A normal arrow couldn't kill them, and now there were two of these troublesome enemies. What followed was a one-sided slaughter. Under Bella's command, the two golden eagles hunted me. I dodged and weaved, but my body was still covered in bloody wounds from their pecking. The female guests screamed in terror. Someone started to plead, Bella, she's still Chris's wife. Maybe we should stop. Bella clutched her injured ear. Stop. No way. We agreed not to hold back, so we're going to have a proper fight. Someone else tried to persuade her. What if she dies? Bella was unfazed. If she dies, she dies. Chris only married her as a pretense anyway. It's not like anyone actually considers her a proper lady of the house. After saying that, she realized she'd let a secret slip. The eagles dove again, their talons reaching for me, as if to snatch me away. If they caught me, they would surely tear me apart. Just in the nick of time, a voice called out, "That's enough." Everyone turned to see the matriarchs of the Bailey and families standing not far away, watching the duel. The one who had shouted enough was Eleanor Bailey, grandmother. Bella and Leo rushed over to her. The old woman's silver hair was coiled in a high bun. A black robe embroidered with gold thread was draped over her straight-backed frame. Her face was a roadmap of wrinkles, like the stacked pages of an ancient, tattered book. Her clear eyes held the cold light of a 1,000-year-old spring. She looked at me from across the crowd, at my bloody and battered form. Perhaps I should have called her grandmother. But did she see me as her granddaughter? No, she saw me as a sacrifice. Right now, her eyes were filled with contempt and relief. Contempt for my weakness and helplessness. Relief that she had gotten rid of me back then. saving the Bailey family from the shame of me and my familiar. Eleanor's appearance saved me. She wouldn't let me die before she had the chance to sacrifice me. That evening, I returned to the Bailey estate with Bella and the others, my heart heavy. Chris didn't come back that night. According to the stream, his system quest was almost complete, and he was about to leave this world. I felt a slight pang of disappointment, but had no time to dwell on him. I had too many important things to do. I had to go to the villa on the outskirts to pay respects to my mother. I had to completely break the seal and save the Lee family from disaster. In that abandoned courtyard at the villa, I found some of Jade's old clothes and created a memorial for her. Paper money fluttered in the air, the smoke from the offerings curling upwards. Jade, my birth mother. From the moment I was born, she had been fighting for me. For me, she had single-handedly stood against the renowned Bailey family, against the most powerful summoner in the world, and the immense power behind her. She never backed down. They broke her legs, they let tigers and leopards tear at her, but she never backed down. She chased my departing carriage in a storm, fell into the mud when she could no longer keep up, and withered away in that desolate courtyard, lost in her memories. She was bound by chains, and she was bound by love. She fought against forgetting. She never stopped fighting. I remembered the lullaby I had heard that evening. That day, I had stood outside the courtyard, wondering who was inside. She was huddled alone within, missing the daughter she would never see again. We were destined to never meet. Sleep now, my sweet child, sleep. Wake up and eat your cake so you'll grow up big and strong. The locust flowers bloom and fall, and Mama's dark hair is now streaked with snow. When I returned to the Bailey estate, Bella was waiting for me with her arms crossed, a smug smile on her face. Chloe held a lantern for her, and a group of servants armed with clubs stood behind her. What's all this? I asked, though I already knew the answer. Eleanor was about to move against the Lee family, and tonight was the night they would frame me. Sure enough, Bella clapped her hands, and two servants brought forward a handsome young man in rough clothes. He was tied up, a gag in his mouth, muffling his cries. He was the mute carriage driver I was about to be accused of having an affair with. Seeing my confusion, Bella grew even more pleased. Lily, you have no shame. How dare you cheat on my brother with a stable hand? Tonight, as your sister-in-law, I'm going to bring you to justice. I scoffed. You call yourself my sister? You're not worthy. Her almond eyes flickered. Still thinking about that dead girl, are you? You still don't know why she died, do you? Bella laughed. She died because she had a useless sister like you. What? I only knew that Iris had died at her hands, not why she had killed her. Perhaps because she thought I was at a dead end. Bella spilled the beans. Iris and I were students together at the Foaming Academy. One day, my friends and I were making fun of that world-famous loser from Ijo. That's you, by the way. Iris's face went cold, and she said, My sister is not a loser. My sister's face appeared in my mind, dressed in red, vibrant and heroic. That day, she had told Bella, my sister trains hard and is never lazy. She is not a loser. So Iris knew everything. I had always claimed to be lazy, happy to be a spoiled waste of space. The truth was, no matter how hard I tried, my skills never improved. For 10 years, I trained in a secret waterfall grotto day and night. Awake or asleep, I chanted the incantations over and over. I was battered by wind and rain, my skin peeling off in layers. The injuries to my back, my legs, my internal organs, I lied and said they were from playing around. But in secret, I had put in 10 times more effort than anyone else. But I never made any progress. I really was a loser. Tears streamed down my face. But my sister said I wasn't a loser. She made an enemy of Bella for my sake, and in the end, she died at Bella's hands. Seeing me cry, Bella's smile widened. Want to know how your sister died? I had her executed by 1,000 cuts. The blade sliced off her flesh, piece by piece. Her screams were horrific. What? Are you angry? You're about to be a prisoner yourself. What can you possibly do to me? Though she said this, it was clear she was scared. She quickly retreated behind the servants and summoned her 2 golden eagles. The stream had already lost its mind. HHHH, I didn't tune into a late-night stream to get this angry. Bella is such a bitch. What do we do? Can anyone save Lily? Did Chris really leave the game? We need a hero to save the day. Just then, a gentle breeze swept through, and a boy as radiant as a jade tree appeared at the end of the corridor, walking on air. The stream was ecstatic. Yay. He didn't leave. Please give her some more heart's blood. The boy twirled a fan and in a flash, was before us. Sister Bella, what's all the commotion? He smiled, revealing a dimple. It was Leo. Seeing her brother arrive, Bella felt more secure, and her words became even more wild and vicious. Lily, your sister was flayed alive. Guess what's waiting for you? Execution by fire. I sneered. It's you who will be executed by fire. I swiftly drew a sword from a servant's belt and plunged it into my own heart. To break the seal, I needed the heart's blood of a Bailey. And I was a Bailey. I didn't need anyone to save me. I could save myself. Warm, red blood trickled down my throat. The floral marking on my forehead completely faded away. As Bella and Leo stared in shock, I raised my hand and formed a seal. Fire Phoenix. A world-shaking phoenix cry echoed through the night. A magnificent, five-colored phoenix burst from the void. Its enormous wings could have toppled half the city, and its elegant feathers flowed like a rainbow-colored river of stars. It breathed fire, and in an instant, the two golden eagles were roasted chickens. Bella went insane. My eagles! My eagles! It's a phoenix! Leo cried out, and everyone else echoed his cry. The entire city was stirred. People rushed out of their homes, falling to their knees to worship the sight, tears streaming down their faces. It's a phoenix. It's not just a legend. The phoenix really exists. A divine bird has appeared. May it protect us all. I subdued Bella in 2 moves, breaking both her arms with lightning speed. I grabbed her, leaped onto the phoenix's back and took flight. Apollo to the city. Yes, master. The phoenix's cry was clear and long. As the entire city prostrated themselves, I rode the wind on the phoenix, disappearing in an instant. The city Pear Blossom Street Lee residence. Inside the gates, the sounds of battle, cries of anguish, and the stench of blood filled the air. Bodies lay everywhere. Mr. and Mrs. Lee, clad in armor, fought back to back. They were exhausted, cornered. A pained cry came from the sky as one of their swan familiars fell, its wing broken. The other swan shrieked, fighting desperately against a falcon, its white feathers stained with blood. The family head, Grandpa Lee, clutched his bleeding stomach, a long whip in his hand, fighting off 10 tigers at once. A mortal man, holding his own against 10 ferocious beasts. Behind him lay his vulture, on the brink of death. That once majestic vulture had taken down 300 of the enemy's falcons that night. The other clans in the city hid in their homes, whispering amongst themselves. The chief family. Dad, the fighting outside is so loud, I can hear it even with my ears covered. Oh, for heaven's sake, be quiet. We live too close to the Lees. I hope this doesn't spill over to us. Dad, our family crest is an ostrich, and you act just like one. Hey, you little brat, you dare insult your father? The family. The Lees are finished. What did old man Lee do to anger the Baileys? It's because of that thing. A treasure that brings nothing but trouble. What do you mean, mother? Are you saying the Lees have some kind of treasure? Don't ask. The Lees' fate is sealed. Why don't we step in now and support the Baileys? It would be a good way to get on the matriarch's good side. My son is clever. A small effort for a great reward. The family. Dad, let's go help Mr. Lee. You fool. To help them is to make an enemy of the Baileys. And to make an enemy of the Baileys is suicide. Are you still hung up on that dead girl, Iris Lee? Dad. I can't forget Iris. This is infuriating. Why did I have such a stupid son? If you go help old man Lee tonight, you can meet your precious Iris in the afterlife tomorrow. The family. The Lees are at the end of their rope. Sigh. Mr. Lee, allow me to light an incense stick for you in advance. Dad. Grandma has summoned all 2,000 members of our clan. We're going to save old man Lee. What? Grandma says she's known Mr. Lee for half her life and can't just stand by and watch him die. Grandma also said. Said what? She said that the wild goose is a symbol of loyalty and righteousness, and she will not dishonor the family crest. On the moonlit street, Eleanor Bailey sat atop a tiger, calmly listening to the sounds of slaughter from the Lee residence. She listened as if it were heavenly music, a pleased smile on her lips. How wonderful! After tonight, the celestial dragon screen would be hers. Then, after sacrificing that girl, she could summon the celestial dragon. When the dragon appeared, who in the world would not bow to her? The legendary celestial dragon. Suddenly, she heard a long, drawn-out cry from the distance. It was a sound she had never heard before, a celestial melody. Eleanor froze. That's. Her eyes widened until they were about to burst from their sockets. A phoenix. It was the legendary phoenix. And in its claws, it held a person, her Bella. And standing on its back was another person, it was Lily. When I arrived on the phoenix, the battle was raging. The Lee family was on the brink of annihilation. The phoenix let out a long cry. Instantly, all the bird familiars answered, rushing to be summoned. The family's ostriches, the family's wild geese, the family's white storks, and the family's crested ibises, whether they wanted to help or not, they had no choice now. When the phoenix calls, all birds answer. Even the airy guard that Franklin had brought turned against him. The falcons that had been attacking my family's swans now bowed before the phoenix, no longer daring to peck at them. Franklin panicked. Seeing me, my dad and mom were first shocked. Then they hugged each other, wiping away tears. Our daughter is back. Our daughter is back. My grandfather stared up, his eyes wide. Not a peacock. It's a phoenix. He wiped the blood from his face and smiled in relief. The surviving members of the Lee clan and their servants cheered and wept. The second young miss is back. The second young miss is back. Wah, that girl Lily was always a clever one. The Bailey family's wolves and tigers were still attacking. These beasts did not heed the call of the divine bird. Well, the matriarch's golden guard is certainly brave, I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. I stood on the phoenix's back and raised my hand to form a seal. Celestial cranes call. Water dragons roar. Stone generals might. Hydras hiss. And the fox of the heart moon. In an instant, a fierce wind kicked up, sending sand and stones flying. The earth trembled as if mountains were collapsing. From the void, several colossal figures emerged. The celestial crane spread its wings. The water dragon coiled through the air. A stone giant holding a massive blade appeared, the ground cracking with every step. A snake-like monster as tall as a mountain materialized behind the golden guard, casting a huge shadow. Its 9 heads hissed menacingly, greedily surveying its prey. And finally, the 9-tailed fox strode arrogantly out of the void. Its 9 long tails whipped through the air like celestial ribbons, striking fear into the hearts of all who saw it. The entire city was in an uproar. The clans watched in terror as the 9-tailed fox's tails threatened to overturn the city with a single swipe, their voices raw from shouting. It's the 9-tailed fox. The legendary 9-tailed fox is real. I must be dreaming. I'm going to slap myself. How can it be the 9-tailed fox? It's always been just a myth. Aw, that 9-headed thing is terrifying. It looks so hungry. The Lee family's younger daughter is back. Those are her familiars. 6 familiars? Are there really 6 of them? I heard that when she was born in Fengzhou, there was a divine omen. But wasn't that omen for the Bailey family's heir, Bella? You fool. Do you still think it was for Bella? I had stopped the war with sheer force. After the 9-tailed fox appeared, the invaders from the Bailey and families were frozen in place, like they'd been cast in cement. Even my grandfather was stunned. Eleanor Bailey was ecstatic. She spread her arms wide, looking up at me in the sky. She acted as if she held a great secret, one that could command the wind and rain. Lily, my dear, I'm your grandmother. That old man isn't your real grandfather. I am your real grandmother. Her usual stern demeanor was gone. Her eyes red. She eagerly recounted the switch at birth story. The crowd listened, completely baffled. Bella's face was pale. Grandmother, you were lying to me, weren't you? Then the person I killed. Eleanor showed her no mercy. You killed your own sister. The matriarch looked up at me with warmth and excitement. With you, the Bailey family's position is secure. Oh. I raised an eyebrow deliberately. I don't believe you. I looked down at her coldly and said, word by word, my name is Lee. The old woman was frantic. She seemed at a loss for how to prove it. But my grandfather just laughed. He tossed out a single sentence. "Eleanor Bailey, you are blind to true greatness." That line later spread like a plague across the land. Eleanor Bailey, blind to true greatness. After that, the Bailey family collapsed like an anthill in a flood, forced into a humiliating retreat. For a time, they were the laughingstock of the world. The images of the phoenix, the nine-tailed fox, the water dragon, the celestial crane, the stone giant, and the hydra appeared in countless folk tales, living out the dramatic sagas imagined by poets and scholars. In Izhou, in Fengzhou, no one ever called the second daughter of the Li family a loser again. They praised her to the high heavens, making her out to be a figure of myth and legend. I went back to the green cliff to burn paper offerings for my sister. I closed my eyes. The wind brushed my face. "Iris, I think I saw you that night. Your ghostly image stood with Grandpa, Dad, and Mom. You smiled at me and said, 'My sister isn't a loser. She's my pride and joy.'" Bonus. 1,000 years ago, a divine being from the family made a bet with the celestial dragon and narrowly won. The dragon honored its promise, allowing to take a sliver of its soul and seal it within a screen. The rest of its soul was left to wander the world. From then on, the celestial dragon screen was passed down through the family, and many forgeries appeared in the world. 500 years later, a craftsman named Hu, by a stroke of luck, saw the real screen with his own eyes. Based on that one glimpse and his own incredible skill, he spent his entire life creating a near-perfect replica. The only difference was, the dragon on the replica had eyes. The dragon on the real one has no eyes. The old Taoist priest flicked his horsetail whisk. "Where did the dragon's eyes go?" the young apprentice asked. The sun was setting in a blaze of glory. The old priest gazed into the distance. They became a pair of pearls, known to the world as the eyes of beauty. Eating them allows one to see the future and understand the threads of fate. The young apprentice scratched his head, a realization dawning. Wait a minute. If that's the case, then the screen in the matriarch's room is the real one. The old priest sighed and shook his head. "Eleanor Bailey, she is blind to true greatness. Come, Alistair. Master will take you to find a good place to settle down." The two walked off, disappearing over the horizon. All her schemes and calculations were undone by a simple twist of fate. Bonus. Back in the game lobby, I was still in a daze. It was only after the game ended that I realized I was a player, not a character in the story, and definitely not an NPC. Let me reintroduce myself. My name is Lily, and I'm a 21st century Taoist priestess. I'm a disciple of the free-spirited sect of Mount Fleeting Dream, and I specialize in incantations, talismans, and summoning magic. I'm a really good fighter. I once knocked out 2 of my master's teeth. To resurrect Daji, I accepted an invitation from a horror game and stepped into its mysterious game space. This time, I entered a 3S level instance called the Celestial Dragon Screen. As soon as I entered, both my viewers and I were hit with a fog of oblivion effect and forgot a lot of things. My case was particularly severe. I even forgot I was a player. Leo got hit hard too. Not only was he affected by the fog of oblivion, but he was also hit with a random system item, a simp card. The moment he entered the game, a passive effect triggered, turning him into Bella's ultimate simp. Anyway, the system gave me a quest to gain prestige, because my starting status was ultimate loser. Since I forgot I was a player, I naturally forgot about the quest too. I should have been trapped in the game, but I somehow managed to complete the quest by accident. You'd have to say I have good luck. Not only that, but I also managed to pluck a feather from the undying bird. Surprising, right? The undying bird was the maid Chloe. It had been secretly badmouthing me to the old matriarch, Bella, and the twins. To hide its identity from me, the little punk even changed its gender. It was originally male. The moment the game was ending and my memory returned, I went straight for it. I wasn't about to let this game be a total waste. I caught it in the Bailey estate. And what's even better? When I found it, the stable hand who was framed with me was plucking its feathers. After my memory returned, I recognized him immediately. His name is Finn, and he's also a player. He entered this game specifically to get a feather from the undying bird to resurrect his best friend, Daniel. Finally, I'm done explaining. Right now, I'm cuddling my fluffy little fox, Dodgy, stroking her fur while watching Chris, Leo, Finn, and Daniel play mahjong. Remembering my interactions with Chris in the game makes my face flush. I feel so awkward. The fog of oblivion is truly terrifying and dangerous. It made me forget I was a player. It made me get lost in the story, mistaking a dream for reality. Fortunately, Chris is, as his name implies in Chinese, cool as a breeze. He seems to have forgotten everything that happened in the game. He keeps the game world and the real world completely separate. Besides, I've long heard that the Bailey twins are a pair of manipulative, possessive, and notoriously fickle playboys. You should never, ever fall for them. Thinking of him that way actually makes me feel relieved. I relaxed, petting my fur ball, and started chattering to Finn and Daniel. After this round, can I tell you two a story? An old friend of yours is still waiting for you under an acacia tree. Everything was great. Except the system was yelling at me again. Damn it, Lily, you're not allowed to kidnap NPCs. Give me back Dodgy. Give her back. I took a big gulp of my bubble tea and pretended not to hear a thing. The weather is so nice today. And this fox's fur is so soft. The end.